I jumped on stage on the way, I seen a pair of maracas there, so I grabbed them on the way up, jumped off foot stage, I was giving it all. And I shut these maracas that I had a blister the size of a 50 pence piece in the middle of my hand.
I told Bez to do like a really short answer.
No, sorry.
Quite a long time, you had to go to London to make. In fact, wasn't that Tony Wilson thing? He used to say to people, I forbid you to move to London. And when people did go to London, he didn't speak to Paul Moore, the journalist, about 20 years, did he? Because he'd gone to London.
In our industry, there's no job security. No. So all you're thinking it's going to be over at any fucking minute now. Yeah. And I'm going to make the most of this moment. And that's all you can think of.
But now we're going to get into a little bit of a history tour. Back into the 80s and 90s, what made Manchester great, the whole Manchester era. So this could be a bit of fun. Who knows what may happen? So let's get into it. Leading this session is James Cross, who's the CEO and founder of Meanwhile. We have John Robb, musician and journalist, and of course, the one and only Mr. MARACA Shaker himself, Bez. Welcome to the stage, guys.
Nobody has ever held that many phones up in front of me. Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are Meanwhile. Very quickly, just to set up the premise of this talk before I introduce our guest today. Being different is what we're all about at Meanwhile. It's sort of in the work we do. It's the way we launched with this was, you might have seen it before, our launch campaign, essentially. And it's basically why we decided to do what we're doing today at MadFest, which is break from, some of the more mediocre talks and do something a bit different, a bit more exciting with these two legends right here. So the premise being, so what defines Manchester is being different. This is what we're all about. From an industrial powerhouse, trading in textiles in the 1870s, one of the biggest and most important, wealthiest cities on earth.
And the inventors of corduroy. Just in case you didn't know.
I've worked with Bez a lot of times, and he takes me by surprise. To the so-called Manchester music explosion, the latter half of the 80s in Manchester, thanks in part to this man, the Hacienda, and Maracas, making it one of the most talked about cities in the world, and built a culture that is essentially what modern Manchester is, I think, built on to this day. So without further ado, John Robb, very esteemed journalist, absolute hero of mine, musician and of professional maraca shaker and dancer.
Hey.
So to kick off sort of the point of being different, Bez is the very epitome of being different. Bez, there's a story about when the Mondays were playing at the Hacienda and they were just the Mondays and then you walked up on stage. What influenced you to do that?
Well, you know what? It wasn't a career choice I would normally make. And I had no plans of ever being on stage, you know what I mean? But one night, the Happy Mondays were supporting New Order at the Hacienda. And just before the band was about to go on stage, Sean turned around to me and said, Bez, you're going to have to come on stage with me, because he was absolutely like... And the reason being, because we'd done all these black and white microdots earlier in the day, and everything had gone completely like as it shouldn't be. And I was there for the moral support. So at first I said, fuck off, you mad? I'm not. And he said, listen, if you don't go on, you're a soft cunt. I thought, no one calls me a soft cunt. So I fucking... So on the way on, I jumped on stage on the way, I seen a pair of maracas there, so I grabbed them on the way up, jumped off foot stage, I was giving it all. And I shut these maracas that I had a blister the size of a 50 pence piece in the middle of my hand.
Right, I told Bez to do like a really short answer.
No, sorry. Anyway, sorry about that. I am being... Sorry about the French.
No worries, that was great. So, John, what Bez did in that moment, a bit like Manchester, was something different, something unexpected, something nobody saw coming, apart from Sean Ryder.
I don't think Sean really saw it coming either, did he?
He didn't even know.
Didn't expect that 30 years later.
Weren't you living in a cave in Morocco at that time as well?
No, that was just before...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was true.
Yeah. No, I did do that.
The best thing about Bez's story, all sounds made up, but it's actually true.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people in here do like branding stuff, and you have to make up brands. The best brands are the real ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
The people just do
yeah.
stuff off the cuff, instinct. Just get up on stage and just do crazy shit.
And here we are. And I think it's like now, that sort of that period in time is so iconic. Do you think that's essentially designed, sort of influenced what Manchester is today?
Well, partly, but it's all layers, and it doesn't stop, does it? There's still people in town doing really good things now. But it was an interesting period, wasn't it? Because the best bits in culture is when culture gets torn and all the mad people get through, innit? Like in punk, it was like that, wasn't it? Maybe just after the Beatles, maybe after Acid House, maybe just before actually with you, wasn't it?
Yeah.
When the drugs change, the culture changes. Not that anybody should take drugs or anything. But you know, when the music business is in control, it's all boring, innit? You know, their idea of what music is really dull.
Yeah.
All the best stuff, all the best culture comes off the streets. It comes off the streets of Salford, it comes off the streets of Wigan, or just mad little towns that get ignored by the big cities, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's where the exciting stuff always is. Right now, that's all going on in them places.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we just sort of cast our mind back, Bez, what was before the Mondays, before Hacienda? What was Manchester like for you, culturally speaking?
I remember Manchester because it's developed into the city as today. Because in the early 70s, it was so run down, you wouldn't believe it, would you? And the place has developed so much. And sometimes I pull up at a street corner and I actually don't recognise where I am anymore. I'm thinking, oh my God, where I am.
To be honest, Ben, that was probably like the same in 1987.
Yeah.
I'm only joking, though. Because of all the people I met in bands, and I met thousands of people in bands over the years, you're probably the most sussed, sharpest, on it person.
Oh, I'm glad you think so. My wife doesn't. And other people close to me might not think the same, but...
No, he's absolutely on it, actually. If you want to hire Bez...
He's got 30,000 bees. You have to...
No, that's in one hive.
On one hive, 120,000.
Yeah. Imagine managing that lot, and they're all girls as well. Nightmare.
So, John, do you think in that sense that the fact that we're even talking about the Hacienda, Bez is still big, do we romanticize a sort of period in time in Manchester? And do you think, do you sense a feeling of sort of cultural superiority in this city? Or certainly a feeling of an attitude.
I don't think there's anything wrong with romanticising anything, is there? I mean, although life's boring or dangerous, it's great to have something that's colourful and exciting that you can romanticise forever, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why
it's like Robin Hood, isn't it? But it's not just then, is it? People always say this thing now, don't they? Oh, people always go on about the past all the time. And of course, because we're older, you're asking us older person's questions. But it doesn't stop the culture now. There's loads of stuff going on in the city. And it came out, a lot of it comes out that period, but a lot of it comes out the period before, doesn't it? I mean, you can go all the way back to the Sex Pistols gig at the Free Trade Hall when the modern Manchester music scene probably did start at that gig. But it went like that, didn't it? Like a big bang, wasn't it?
Totally.
It's not like you had to be there. It's the energy of that gig changes everything, doesn't it?
And an energy that still exists today.
Well, it was nice culturally for Manchester in particular to take it from London and bring it down here. So, like you've done today, you've all come down from London. It's mad up north, as they say.
It's important that, though, isn't it? Because all the way up for quite a long time, you had to go to London to make... In fact, wasn't that Tony Wilson thing? He used to say to people, I forbid you to move to London. And when people did go to London, he didn't speak to Paul Moore, the journalist, about 20 years, did he? Because he'd gone to London. And that was a radical idea, wasn't it? But now most people would stay here. Not everybody. Most people stay here because it's actually a really good place to live, where you can do what you want, but you don't have to live here.
No, exactly.
But it's changing, and music changed the city, didn't it? The whole skyline of the city comes out of post-punk, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
This building comes out of punk. This building comes out of Bez's Maracas, It's like the chaos theory.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It's just that one moment. It's just...
change. People in the room go, whoa, that's amazing. Then they get to the next bit of their life, and they take that energy and do something else with it, don't they?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why pop culture is really important, isn't it?
100%.
It changes everything. Yeah.
I think they'll be talking about this talk in years to come as the moment. Bez, there's an ad in the MEN a few days before the Hacienda opened, and it said, made a pledge to restore a sense of place. So do you think the Hacienda and the whole spawning of Manchester did that? It created a sense of place?
Well, the Hacienda played culturally a massive important role in the whole development of Manchester and the music.
Yeah.
The whole thing was born from the Hacienda, really, I'd say. Would you? I don't know. John, is it?
I think Accelerator was already there, but
Yeah, Accelerated
we'll
it,
talk about this
maybe.
before because we
Yeah,
both
yeah.
used to rehearse in the boardwalk, and that was 84, 85.
Yeah, and that was...
That seemed, when they put the boardwalk in, it's like, wow, that's quite posh down in the middle of Manchester. Of course, the Hacienda was like a world level club. People used to laugh at it because it was so posh, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was in the middle of a really derelict part of town. And now the whole city centre looks like the Hacienda, apart from the Hacienda, which is not here anymore. Yeah.
Black and yellow stripes.
I mean, it was super important.
Yeah.
But it's a process that goes on forever. Isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
But you were important in the Hacienda, weren't you? Because you used to have your own little table in the corner, weren't you?
Yeah,
What were you up to on that table? Ben?
Well, I would like to say, but what I could, because we used to treat it like our locals. It used to be open every night, apart from on a Monday.
Yeah.
And we used to go every night to the Hacienda without fail, and we've seen some of the greatest bands and some of the greatest. Honestly, the things what used to happen in that place.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. The people I've met,
Especially in their corner.
especially in our corner. Yeah.
Because you actually, let's say, he turned everybody on in a sense.
In a sense. What he's talking about. So John, so Tony Wilson best once said, and this quote is everywhere in Manchester. You can't really move for it. This is Manchester. We do differently.
He didn't actually. Did he actually say that though?
For the sake of this interview,
Well,
I'll say this.
it's become a part of legend.
Yeah, I mean,
that
it's the sort of thing Tony would have said.
Yeah.
And he always had spoken quotes, and he was amazing, Tony, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But I think that quote actually was it in the film, and it's sort of Steve Coogan character.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm getting a lot.
Which I like. I think that's even
fiction.
better. It's
Yeah.
even better to have your most famous quote that's not actually you that said it.
Yeah.
Which is kind of very Manchester as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah.
But without Tony, we wouldn't be sat here in this space.
No, exactly.
This is like the grandchild of the Hacienda, this building, isn't it?
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Factory International, as it should be called.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not named after a train that's always late.
So do you believe the city still lives up to that? We do differently. There's a sense of individuality about Manchester in terms of what's here, the bands that are here, the companies that are here.
Yeah, because I think it's easier to be creative here because you can afford it. I think.
Yeah.
I always thought that in London. I love London. I don't think it's one or the other.
Yeah.
I think it's hard to do stuff that's a bit more off the wall there unless you've got rich parents.
Yeah.
One good thing about Manchester was there was a genuine working class art, and there's like your band, like pretty mad, bands like that would not exist in London. There's bands like Flowered Up tried to do it, but they couldn't do it. They were good, but not as good.
Yeah.
But here there's a space for bands like that, and they would get taken seriously.
Yeah.
And there's you could do it. You could live between the cracks here and do crazy shit, which I think is really important.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Do you think you can still do that now? With
Yeah, I think so,
The
yeah.
way the city's like getting
But
gentrified.
you don't live in the 40-story tower with £1 million flat. Nobody lives in them flats who makes that kind of culture.
Yeah.
You can still live around where I live in Hume or like on the edges of Manchester, and it's not that expensive.
Yeah.
So you can still do it, and people are still doing it. I know they're still doing it. I've seen them. There's more of it. There's more venues in town than there ever has been.
Yeah.
Well, the development of Manchester City Centre, like I said before, it's unbelievable how Manchester's grown in the last 20 years. The town is actually unrecognisable to actually to look at.
Yeah.
It's good, isn't it? Why can't we be one of the biggest cities in Europe?
Exactly. Yeah.
We don't have to be going, oh no, we have to be small and rubbish. It's like that's what Tony was into that. He's had the ambition. If Tony came back now, he look at that skyline and people go, look how it's changed, Tony. He'd go, I knew it was going to look like this. He talked about this when you bump into him in the street and have a crazy argument with them about something.
Well, we were like the New York of England, aren't we, really? You know what I mean? In my opinion.
Yeah, you could, because...
before it got, before
I agree.
Gillian, or whatever it's called, like taming the place when it was much wilder than it is now.
But yeah, because everything went Manchester to Liverpool to New York. And that was the line, wasn't it? Yeah. They just got a bit bigger, but we're catching up.
Yeah, we're doing all right. So does it wind you up then, you guys, when we always get questions about, a journalist will ring up and say, someone in London says Manchester's shit. What do you think of that? Do you get wound up by that sort of stuff, that kind of rivalry, or do you think we're better than that?
Well, I don't get wound up by any sort of rivalry because we've got a better football team. You know, we've got nothing to worry about. Better music.
Yeah.
You know, there's no competition really. No, I didn't mean that. If you're from London, obviously, I just.
I don't think do people even actually say that, you know.
I do to me.
Just now and then, but banter and rivalries as well, isn't it?
Yeah, no.
But you know what? You can't. A friendly bit of banter never harmed anyone, has it?
No,
You know
it's
what
good,
I mean?
isn't it?
Yeah.
And if, in life, no, you need that. You know, that bit of banter and a bit of piss taking out of each other. That's what makes the world work, don't it?
People here laugh at themselves, don't they?
Yeah.
Don't need London to do it.
Well, that's great. It leads me to my next question really nicely. So, considering your source of income, Baz, do you think Manchester's held back by nostalgia?
Pardon me?
Do you think like the whole nostalgic, so there's still a lot of, romanticisation isn't a bad thing, but with bands like the Mondays, Stone Roses, Oasis, all that, do you think it holds us back? What is next?
Yeah, well,
we're a bit stuck in that.
Well, what I think has happened is the end of the old record industry and the digitisation of the old thing, and that's what sort of ended the music for me. You know what I mean? Like for us, like a band like Happy Mondays, if it weren't for Factory Records and the old record industry as it stands, we would have not made a mark today, if we was coming through as a young band today.
Yeah.
Because when we set off, we didn't even know what 1, 2, 3, 4 time was. When we recorded our first album with John Cale, he kept turning round to me going like that. and I think, he's going on about this mad bass change or something. But no, we couldn't believe we didn't understand the basics of music, which is like 1, 2, 3, 4 time. And he's never met a band who didn't know it before, you know what I mean? So we used to go start off slow, and at the end we used to go really fast, you know what I mean? We didn't know about double time and all that. And just imagine a band coming today who didn't even know that. Yeah. You wouldn't survive, would you?
No, exactly.
That's what I kind of said before. Like the best cultures when you tear the fabric, people like that get through. You know, people who are actually the best people in pop culture. The people who can actually do it without. You don't need to know how to go 1, 2, 3, 4. You don't need to know what a bar is. You just you pop. It's in you anyway. The music's in the culture.
Our band was all self-taught. You know what I mean? Nobody knew anything about music. Just picked it up. Taught yourself.
Well, the genius was you turned it into pop music and it hit. Which is amazing, isn't it? But it sounded natural because pop culture is actually owned, for want of better words, owned by the kids. It's not owned by executives. It's not owned by marketeers. But it's actually owned by the people in the rehearsal rooms.
Totally.
Who it just pours out of them. They can't help it. They don't know how to do it, but it's going to come out anyway. So all the best stuff's been like that.
Are you excited by what's coming? Do you know? Are you excited by what's coming up?
There's loads of good bands here, there's good bands everywhere, all across the whole UK. Because I do a music website, we write about this stuff all the time. So I hear it, I don't hear it all, there's more. I feel sorry for younger bands now. There's more bands than ever. And smaller and smaller slices of the cake, so it's hard to survive. And probably one of the main problems we have now is the only people who can afford to be in bands are the ones with a bank of mum and dad, isn't it?
Right.
So a lot of kids from when you grew up would have a chance of being in a band now because the mum and dad can't afford to subsidise. So that's a problem in this country, isn't it?
And bands not being signed if they haven't got a certain Instagram following or something like that.
Yeah, I mean that goes on, doesn't it? But you can, if you had the money, you could still graft it up from the bottom by touring and stuff. I mean, how many years before anybody actually really went to see you play?
5 years.
Quite a long time, wasn't
it? It didn't happen overnight.
No.
5 years we doing it before we even got noticed, you know what I mean?
Before people kind of caught up with it, before people got in the same headspace, let's say.
But we was absolutely rubbish though when we started off. So we'll get us going.
We
got better as we went along.
I think you were actually pretty good. I've seen you in the early days. Yeah. It was so unusual. You were such a one-off band. You couldn't pin down what you were doing at all. But it had some people in your band actually knew what they were doing, sort of, in their own way. It hung together, didn't it? It wasn't
the skin of our teeth.
What's the inspiration though? What were you guys listening to? Because it was, when you look at it now, it's not really. It doesn't sound like anything at the time.
Yeah, we always thought we were a dance band and rappers.
Yeah.
We thought we were like from the streets in New York or something, not Manchester. Like,
Streets of Salford, same thing.
But for pulling up these funky bass lines and talking about life on the streets, that's what we thought we was.
You know what they had? They had no fear.
No,
You just
exactly.
do it, you go, that sounds good, we're having that. And I think that's important in bands. You don't go, oh shit, that's not fashionable, that doesn't work, that doesn't fit.
Yeah.
They just did it without even thinking. You've got to go with instinct. Like their manager, Alan McGee, used to run Creation Records, the same, innit? It's all, with McGee, it's all instinct. He walks in the room, famously he walks in that room and saw Oasis play in Glasgow. In front of 7 people and goes, best band in the world, I'm signing them now.
Yeah.
Most people go, Manchester bands are out of fashion. But he didn't think like that.
No.
Always go on your instinct. Your instinct's always right.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Don't think about things too much.
Yeah. No. I remember McGee when he came to Manchester with Jeff Barrett, Foxhead we used to call him.
Yeah.
He had ginger curly hair. And he was looking for a Manchester band to sign. I thought, boy, pretty mad thing to be doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he found Oasis, one of the biggest bands in the world, signed them, and it just goes to show, doesn't it? You know
Because he
what I mean?
missed the Mondays and the Roses. Yeah, because he's too off his head at that time.
Yeah.
He'd admit that, wouldn't he?
So it was hard to keep up that sort of initial energy of when you guys started, with it going into sort of like later albums and stuff. How have you evolved? How's that process changing?
Well, you in a way we've evolved mentally and emotionally.
Yeah. You're very grounded. I've known you for a little while.
But we was pretty like unstable, and as we grew, like because in our industry there's no job security.
No.
So all you're thinking it's going to be over at any fucking minute now, and I'm going to make the most of this moment, and that's all you can think of.
Is
you know what I mean?
that genuine?
Yeah. Honestly, at any moment this lot could end. You know what I mean? It's like you say, there's no job security, is there?
True.
You never know. So, and that's how you live your life, on the edge of your, flying by the seat of your pants, basically.
Which you should.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It
I
makes
mean,
it
who
more
wants a
exciting.
boring life? I mean, who wants to clock in and clock off? I mean, I know it's a good job that most people do because society would fall apart.
Yeah.
It's good there's like a little space where
You just
some
need
of us can just
a
take a
little
risk.
room for something.
Yeah, just risk fucking up every day.
Yeah, definitely. So
But the great thing about the Munsies is we're still fucking going after all these years.
Yeah.
And we're about to make another album. Who could have believed that? You know what I mean? Yeah. And when we first set off, like you couldn't imagine being this far down the road. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It is pretty crazy when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah, you once said you had if you hadn't have stood up, what would you have done? What would you have?
Well,
do you know?
You know what? I could have done all sorts because of the fella I am.
Yeah.
I always got my nose stuck in somebody else's business.
Yeah.
It's not mine, so I would have got by either way. You know what I mean?
You virtually work for us now.
Yeah. I need all those fellas. I've got Meanwhile agency.
Could have been a beekeeper.
Exactly. Yeah, 120,000 bees. So does Manchester still excite you guys?
Yeah.
It probably does.
Well, I still live here, and I think it's an amazing city to live in.
Yeah.
But I don't think you think, oh, you're better than everyone else. It's just a great place to live. Because I'll tell you what I like about Manchester, what I've always liked, because I moved here from Blackpool years ago. What I really like about it is the people, really.
Yeah.
People are friendly. It's a cliche, but people always, when you go in London and you go in a shop and say, see you, mate, they look at you like a psychopath. That's the after. But it's just a normal thing here. You always say thanks to the bus driver,
Yeah.
I know it's quaint, but it's actually quite good.
It's
if you're walking
unnerving
down
when
the
you first
street and
move.
see somebody, you always say hello to them.
Yeah.
I know people think that's what mad people do, but
Well, I feel compelled to let on to people. I don't know what's wrong with me. If anyone looks at me, I've got to say hello.
They walk down from there. Should have taken 30 seconds, but because of Bess talking to everyone, took about 20 minutes. Totally true. I've just been told we can go on, and they keep extending that timer, which is like for.
And you haven't got enough
interviewed
now you're
to
stuck,
stay.
aren't you? 'Cause you run out of
I'm
questions.
filling, big time filling. So Bess, tell us about your honey and your bees and your farm life. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah, well, I ain't got a farm as such, but I've got a bit of land. And a few years ago, I decided I was going to fight the revolution. and I had all these, but you know what? I found out mostly driven by ego.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really care about
Politics, you mean?
Yeah, the politics, but I really wanted to know the banking system and everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
And I I felt like I had to do something about it, and I decided to stand up and form a political party at the time.
Yeah.
And what I found out about doing politics is the meaning of the word petty tyrant.
Right.
God, I was surrounded by him, you know what I mean? And when you're like the leader of the party and everyone's running to you with all the problems and all that,
Yeah.
and you like, and everyone's looking at you to sort things out. Anyway, has anyone ever heard of a thing called the I Ching?
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, have you heard of it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like a bit of a nippy thing. And I always laugh at people who do the I Ching and all this Chinese philosophy thing. So anyway, I was struggling that much with it. I decided to I Ching it and see what it's going to sell me.
Right.
So I've done this I Ching and it gave me the best advice ever.
Right.
And that was to become the little island instead of being the big one. I thought, what great advice that is, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I carry that with me today, you know, instead of trying to be the big island, just concentrating on being the little island.
Yeah.
Get that right, and everything else will follow then, you know what I mean?
Wisdom of the I Ching.
Yeah.
So Andy Burnham's on next. Have you got anything you want to?
Well, I like Andy, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He's the Prime Minister that we should have.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what? There's some things I disagree with, but in politics, you're never going to agree with anyone, you know what I mean?
Of course, you can't even agree with yourself, can you, really?
Well,
Every day you change your mind. As a person,
and that's what I found about politics is I know why they have a whip, whatever you call party whip.
Yeah.
Because you've got to have someone keeping everyone in order, because otherwise it's going to be absolute bedlam with everyone. Yeah. And honestly, try and get anyone in the room to agree with anyone. Oh man, it's like impossible. You know what I mean? Like to get like.
Yeah.
And
but that's why it doesn't work if you're a political person getting involved in politics, because you have to follow the whip, don't you?
Exactly. Well, you have to follow the order.
Well,
I suppose that being a band.
Well, that's why you have a whip.
Yeah,
because you've got to keep everyone in order, else everyone will go off in a tangent, doing their own shit. But
I prefer the tangent when people actually do go off and do their own shit. That's what gets interesting.
Yeah,
but I know it's chaotic and difficult.
Yeah, I think.
But you may need one in, the Meanwhile agency. Now I've got me working with you.
Exactly.
A bit of a weep.
It's definitely different, but amazing at the same time. And it's brilliant. So I'm just going to wrap up, and they're going to let us talk and talk. So I'm just going to wrap just the official bit, so I can put this down. Basically, so as meanwhile we sort of look around and see what everyone else is doing, and basically we don't do that, which is exactly what John and Bez have said today, and sort of reiterated that point. And we'd urge you to do the same, because we believe it's what built modern Manchester. What else do you want to talk about?
Right. We could take questions off the floor.
Let's do that. Can we do that?
Want to ask Bez a question? Over there.
Is that Mark?
Hey.
I see Mark.
You're going to have to shout, but we'll probably hear you.
Absolutely fine, Bez, James. That was absolutely an amazing chat. Thank you so much.
Yeah, nice one.
That's not a question.
Not a question. I'd run out of questions with 9 minutes to run.
The wrong side of the Lancs.
I have to say, like, a couple of bands to notice, like the Beatles. Bez, I'm sure you know the Real People.
I know them.
We do know the real.
Great band, yeah.
Jack.
In the early 90s, Shaq, of course, Shaq as well. Like, these were bands, the Lads, and all these bands that were coming through from Manchester and Liverpool were making so much noise in the UK. Do you ever think, like, it's going to happen again in these next few years, where we've got the likes of Jamie Webster now, and we've also got, like, guys from all over the UK, but do you ever think we'll see another wave of music like that again in the next few years?
I'd say that. I mean, I don't think it is a wave, but the bands come through individually. It's not a whole... Pop culture itself doesn't exist in the middle of culture anymore. It's a soundtrack to everything else, so it doesn't become a wave that changes everything, like 89 or 77. They were like the closing music equation. They were game changers, weren't they? But now you get great bands, but they don't have the cultural cachet, because social media's done that, hasn't it? Because people operate in social media space, aren't they? But it doesn't mean the music isn't as good. It doesn't mean the bands aren't as important. But it won't be a wave where everybody changes the shoes because of a great record, But there's loads of great music out. There's loads of great music in Liverpool as well, Even Liverpool. Yeah. Don't worry about it. the minute somebody says it's not going to happen again, then it happens. When the Beatles went down to Decca in London, Dick Rowe, the A&R man, said, group's guitar player with guitars are on the way out, Mr. Epstein. He said to Brian Epstein, you know, what happened after that? They're giving the biggest band of all time. So the minute everything stops is when it all starts again.
So, someone said the same to Elvis as well.
Yes.
His
business never knows, no idea.
How long do you think this rock and roll business is going to last for?
Then he did films instead.
You couldn't see the end.
Crazy, isn't it?
Guys, thank you. In the words of Elvis, who left the building, unfortunately,
Get off the fucking
stage. Get off the fucking stage. The mayor is waiting.
We can wait.
The mayor is waiting. Brilliant, guys.